Welcome to the Hash Global Leadership Conversation 1. I've got Myrna Kirk. She's from Culture Engine, and she's got a lot of experience in working with leaders, especially when it comes to self-mastery and developing myself as a leader and growing as an individual into my team and changing the culture of organizations. Myrna, it's really great to have you with us. Of course, this is part of a global leadership conversation that we're starting to roll out in the near future. We believe that the world is in a bit of a leadership crisis, and there are pockets of excellence, fortunately. But let's get the conversation going. And this is going to be a short conversation, 2 essence questions that I'm asking leadership experts across the world, anyone involved in leadership development or anything in that field. We want their input. And of course, the 2 questions just get the conversation going. We place it on the Global Leadership Platform, and then people can comment and give their own views. Myrna, welcome.
Thank you so much, Adrian, for having me.
So Myrna, 2 simple questions. Let's start with the first one, and I'll ask it very precisely so that we can say we ask the same question to all experts all over. And the question is, what is the most important quality or attribute we need to develop, awaken, or improve in leaders if we are going to turn around the current leadership crisis? What would you say is the answer to that?
In my view, and the experience that I've had with leaders over the past 13 years, is a deep sense of self-awareness. Leadership starts with us. Leadership starts with the individual. And what I have found is the leaders that are most consistently successful, and when I say successful, is how effectively they lead individuals, how they grow their teams, how they nurture their teams, how they guide their teams, are the leaders with a deep sense of self-awareness. Okay. And what is that self-awareness? Self-awareness is understanding myself, understanding what drives me, understanding my triggers and my hot buttons. What are the things that set me off? And also understanding my history as to where my reactive responses come from, as well as how my values and priorities have been shaped. And I find that leaders go into active negative response when those values, those priorities, those beliefs are seen or perceived to be challenged. Okay. And for me, a deep sense of self-awareness of what is it that brings value to me, what is it that brings for me as a leader the sense of purpose, the sense of meaning. For me, the most successful leaders that I have come across are people with a clear sense and a clear purpose of what those things are, and they can take that into a very clearly articulated way into their teams and into their broader organizations. Okay. So in a nutshell, a deep sense of self-awareness and a deep sense of purpose.
All right. So I mean, I do have the follow-up question that says why, before we look at how we develop leaders to become more self-aware. So yeah. You could have mentioned lots of attributes as the top one maybe on your list of what leaders, of what we need to awake inside leaders or develop them to turn around this leadership crisis. So what you're saying is, if our top political leaders, our top corporate leaders, our senior leaders, any leaders for that matter, if we were somehow to assist them to become deeply self-aware, linked with their personal purpose, then we stand a chance of turning around this leadership crisis.
Yep, as a very first starting point. I mean, as you know, Adrian, leadership is complex, right? And everybody will have an opinion. And I think the most challenging thing that I always have once I start doing leadership sessions is, invariably the question will come up, do you think leaders are born or are they made? And actually doesn't matter. We need to deal and we need to work with what we have. And I believe over the centuries, over the decades, we've had leaders that have consistently led effectively. And if we can look at some of those characteristics and attributes and begin to bring it to the consciousness of a wider group of leaders, then yes, we can have an impact on how people who are supposedly not even born leaders lead more effectively.
Okay. I'm with you there. it doesn't matter born or made. Take the person as where they are, and if we at least agree on one thing, it is that I can take whoever Adrian is right now and help him be a better leader, help him become more self-aware, help him to be a better people leader. All right. So how do I develop that inside leaders? The first concern I think of is some leaders honestly need to become more self-aware, don't even realize that they need to work on that. So I need to know I'm an alcoholic before I can deal with it. I need to know that I can become more self-aware. I'm not as self-aware as I think I am, perhaps. But in essence, how do I help leaders become more self-aware? That's my second question. How do we best develop, awaken, or improve this quality of self-awareness linked with purpose in leaders?
So what I usually say to people is, what is the feedback you're getting from the environment? Is it progressively positive, hugely positive, or is it hugely negative? Because it's always so interesting when I speak to leaders, because in our leadership sessions, we cannot separate the leader from the individual who also has a life outside of work, the family, the friends, the children, the spouse, the mom and dad. And I say, the feedback that you will get from your colleagues or your boss or your manager at work will probably be the same feedback you're going to get from your family. If you have consistent feedback, begin to believe that feedback. Begin to listen to that feedback. And that is going to begin to give you clues as to where it is that you think you fall a bit short in how you show up in the world, how you interact with your team, how you interact with your peers, how you interact with the people to whom you report, and how you interact with your broader social network. The first thing for me in self-awareness is to notice, what are other people saying? Okay. How are other people responding towards you? And we can provide a myriad of tools out there, and I mean, there's lots of tools out on YouTube and on Google, where people can actually go and say, okay, this is a self-reflective tool I'm going to use. For me, it's also about, at the end of each day, what is your, do you have a routine where you close off your day, where you reflect on your interactions? This is a very simple free tool. In my 3 most memorable interactions today, how did that go? Did I walk away with my dignity intact? Did the other person walk away with their dignity intact? Those are just very little things. How did I feel afterwards? Did I feel not so good, or I felt very good, even if I had a difficult conversation? I know that person left fully intact. Or did what I say and do leave me kind of feeling naked and leave the other person feel kind of naked and vulnerable? So it's really, the first step is, what is the feedback you're getting from the environment?
So I love what you're saying, Myrna, because we all know in today's complex, sophisticated world, there are many tools and assessments and psychometric tests and so on that can help us become more self-aware. Fine. And if you're in a corporate and you can be on programs and have the accessibility to that because it costs money very often, then great. But you're also starting to touch on personal tools. So what can I personally do? Firstly, become more aware of what the environment is saying to you. But now you're saying implement a structure in your life, a closed down discussion with yourself at the end of every day, where you say, all right, my top 3 most memorable interactions. What does that situation tell me? How did I walk away from it? How do I feel about it? How does that person likely feel about it? Okay, that's brilliant. Thank you so much, Myrna. We'll have some more conversations. I think, anything else you want to say to leaders as a close down before we finish it?
One thing that I would say is, as a business owner and a leader myself, one of the most valuable things that I have found works for me and for the people with whom I surround myself is a is a daily practice of self-reflection, right? I get up in the morning. It's basically a daily routine to set the stage for my day.
Yeah.
I get up in the morning and I say, how do I want my day to go? And I actually said, this is how I want my day to go. At the end of the day, I kind of check how close or how far off from the goals and the pure intention that I set. How close or how far off am I? And that is such a simple practice, just to reflect. What did I say? What did I do? How did I behave? How did I react? How did I respond? And am I happy with that? And is that in line with the goal and intention I set this morning? And for me, that's a 2-minute at the beginning, 2 minute at the end practice, at the end of the day practice that anyone can do. And that's the beginning of cultivating a sense of self-awareness and reflecting on how I show up in the world.
Powerful. And maybe the next step is write it in a journal.
Absolutely.
And you can go back
Absolutely.
and reflect whether there's progress and that sort of thing.
Yep.
Myrna Kirk, thank you so much from Culture Engine. This is our Global Leadership Conversation 1. We'll have a 2 and a 3 and a 4 in the future. We're kicking it off with these 2 simple questions, and then we will in time put it on the Global Leadership Platform. Of course, we're encouraging others, even yourself, if there are influential leadership experts and so on, or CEOs or leaders that you're aware of, have this conversation with them, interview them, and record it. And in time, we'll put that on the Global Leadership Platform and certainly share it on social media. It's been great having you on, and look forward to engaging you again in the future.
Thanks so much, Adrian. Thanks for having me. It's been a pleasure.